If you would, let's pray together. Thank you, Lord, for today. We seek your blessing on our activities today, Lord. We thank you for who you are in our lives. We pray now, Lord, that the work that you accomplished through your Son and with the guidance of your Spirit, you would bring us to a place to where we can face you at your throne. Thank you, Lord, for all that we are, we owe to you. We confess to you our shortcomings, and we pray that you would overlook those things that we have committed by omission or commission. Be with us today as we seek your justice and honor. Lord, help us all to seek justice with clarity and resolve, to practice kindness and show our love for others with charity, wisdom, and mercy, to serve our fellow citizens with humility and impartiality. Our community has entrusted us to seek what's best for everyone according to your will. We ask for your blessing on the deliberations and decisions that are made here today. May we act wisely and well to promote the common good and equally represent with impartiality all members of our community. Bless the efforts of these men and women in their meeting to complete the tasks set before them. Lord, we come before you now. Beseech your mercy. Ask for your wisdom. Give us hope. Increase our faith. Help us to love. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
We're going to do a couple of things out of order. We're going to do the first three things, then we'll go step out of order for a second. Number one is approval of minutes from the August 10, 2015 Potter County Commissioners Court meeting.
Judge, I just have one question on the minutes. Section 17, where we established the budget workshops, and we also had two sessions noted, September 3rd at 5:30 and September 8th at 9. I had in my calendar that you had indicated 12:30 that day, but I just wanted to confirm if it was 9 or 10:30.
Actually, 10:30. It's 10:30 because I have mental health that morning. Not me, but. But I have mental health hearings every Tuesday, so 10:30 would be better for me. Sorry, Judge. It's okay.
It's we'll just make it right. I mean, that's what you, I believe you said it 9.
Yeah, 8 to 10:30.
Is that Tuesday?
Yeah.
Yes.
Make sure it says that right. Publish notice.
Excellent. Okay, yeah. Okay, so noted. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion that we accept the minutes with the noted correction.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your hand, please. 5-0. Budget amendment, to consider and act upon the budget amendment for the fiscal year 2014-2015. Carrie, I think this is pretty self-explanatory with elections. So there was too much budgeted when one that take it out and transfer to the other.
Right, and as you recall, we are combining those divisions from the same budget.
Do I have a motion?
I move we approve the budget amendment for the fiscal year 2014-15 as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your hand. Thank you. Number 3, vouchers. Consider and act upon the approval of the payment of vouchers processed by the County Auditor's Office for the period of August 5th, 2015 through August 19, 2015. Check numbers 1639203, 164182, and wire transfers number 590 through 598 in the amount of $2,340,223.18.
I move that we approve of the vouchers that were voted in red.
Second. Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. 5-0. Thank you. We're gonna step out of line just for a second. And, do the mitigation, so, Kevin can get back to work.
All right, Karen.
I'm gonna let, John Keel start off, with a description of,
Okay.
what else, with the process that we went through on developing the mitigation act.
First, let me read the item, okay? It's number 19, just in case you're following along. Amarillo, Florida, Randall County Hazard Mitigation Plan. Conduct a public hearing on the revised hazard mitigation plan to adopt a resolution approving the revised plan and take any other action necessary. We revised that from last time, Dave. We changed the wording on part of it. Sent it off, came back, okay, so now we're doing the resolution, so. John?
All right, this 5-year update has actually been in the works for about 4 years now. It's taken quite a bit of time to get the counties, I should say counties plural, because this plan covers both Potter, Randall, and the city of Amarillo mitigation plan updated. Now, the purpose of the mitigation plan is basically to allow your local planners here, folks, your stakeholders that have an interest in the impacts that natural hazards may have on the county, to take a good hard look at what your susceptibility is to those hazards, where they've impacted you most in the past, and what you can do about it in the future to try to minimize damages from future hazard events through projects, programs, whatsoever. This plan has been very difficult to put together, primarily because we have to, and it's always been the case, I hate to keep throwing them under the bus, but you have to work with FEMA to get these plans approved, and it's taken quite a bit of time to get the plan approved by FEMA. But we're there today. The plan has been approved, and what we have here is, this is a strategy for the next 5 years now, for what the county, the city can either do individually or collectively to try to minimize impacts from natural hazard events in the future, such as, probably freshest in everybody's mind right now, is flooding. Who would have thought we'd have flooding issues in Amarillo, Texas, but they do occur. And if you look back 5-10 years, these are all secular events. These aren't just one-off events. They do occur, just like high hail does, just like severe thunderstorms occur, just like tornadoes occur, just like winter storms occur. And each of those hazards come with some sort of impact. And quite often it can be an economic impact. So this plan right here, and I don't know if you received kind of the Reader's Digest version in your agenda packet or not. The actual plan is 300 some odd pages long. But within this plan, there is a whole subsection dedicated to mitigation actions that Potter County can undertake in the coming years if and when funding becomes available. Now, the important thing about having a FEMA-approved mitigation plan is that it makes the county eligible to receive FEMA funding to implement some of these actions and strategies. Just so happens, and I know you've got a very busy schedule. Let me step back just a second to tell you how the mitigation grant program works. Anytime there's a federally declared disaster in the state of Texas, 15% of the federal funds that come to Texas go into the mitigation grant program. Any jurisdiction then, regardless of whether or not they're in the impact zone of that, whatever that disaster happens to be, but any jurisdiction that has an approved mitigation plan can then apply for those funds. So we have, right now, we've just had another disaster open for flooding that occurred in May. And the Texas Division of Emergency Management, which is administers the mitigation program in the state of Texas, is now taking applications for funding. So you look at the array of actions you've got in your plan right now, and you can start looking at those that are of highest priority to you. You've got an opportunity to apply today. TDEM's going to be taking applications through the 15th. The way the mitigation grant program works, it's 25% local match and up to 75% of federal funding. And that match can come by the way of cash or come by the way of income. So there's some true benefit to have an improved mitigation plan, not only because it clarifies in your mind what your primary natural hazard threats are and what you can do about it, but it also gives you the golden ticket to get FEMA funding to get some assistance in implementing some of those programs. So today, we're on the last stage of the approval process. In order for FEMA to finally approve the plan, the jurisdictions who are covered by the plan have to adopt the plan. And that's the purpose for today's agenda item. I believe you've got a resolution that you had a chance to look at, Dave.
Yes.
That resolution basically adopts the plan for the county for the next 5 years. And here, 2 or 3 months from now, we'll start updating the next one. It took us so long to get this one updated. We're gonna have to start next week on the next 5-year update. So, that said, and I'm sorry, Kevin, did you?
You can tell John is the master of the bureaucracy that we've had to maneuver through on working with FEMA. And he is working with all the jurisdictions in the Panhandle to get mitigation action plans in place. So he's been very familiar with the process and has worked very closely with the mitigation action team that we have developed here in Potter Randall County. And it is a very, it's a broad-based program. It's a broad-based team that came together to do that. We've had participation from a number of members from throughout the jurisdictions participating in the project.
Kevin, I just have 2 follow-up questions, if I may, and I'm referencing a memorandum, John, that you sent early July. So we talked a lot about FEMA, but also the Texas Division of Emergency Management, both as partners, have tentatively approved this pending the local jurisdiction as well, right? Is that correct? Okay. And then in terms of the mitigation initiatives or actionable items in this grant cycle that you're speaking to, just to confirm, who is watching that? Is that you at Emergency Management saying, Potter may be eligible, visiting with our county judge and deciding to take action?
Exactly. As John alluded to, there's currently a disaster that's been opened up by FEMA for the flooding that occurred down in central Texas in May. And that's opened up a wave of mitigation action funds that could be used for projects that we've identified in the project or in the plan. And for example, one of the big projects that I know that we've partnered with PRPC in the past is Tornado Safer. And that's been a very successful program here, not only in the city of Amarillo, Potter Randall County, but throughout the region. And currently, PRPC is the administrator of that program. Currently, there's 700 people on the waiting list for that program. So that's a very low-hanging fruit project to get some funding to apply to that program and maybe open the door for citizens and individuals that are interested in that program.
So it's a matter of also, the number of entities that are part of that project. You mentioned 700, so that are already on the waiting list. Is it first come from certain basis? How does that process work?
Yes.
And once that funding is done, is it done? Is it the exhaustion of those funds? Is it over? Is it another?
Yeah, we can continuously reapply for additional funding. And in the past, that's been a very successful program where FEMA's actually kicked in more money based on the success of the program in the past. So that would be something that if we were able to secure some funding for that project, we would apply it towards it and then continue to pursue funding as funding becomes available. That's one that's kind of on everybody's radar that we continuously pursue funding for.
Well, and just so you know, Commissioner, the PRPC is written into this plan too, because we have to have an approved mitigation plan. So by virtue of the PRPC being in this plan, we can pursue funding through this most recent disaster declaration for additional shelter. Yes, it is first come, first served. And yes, we do have 700 people on that list. And yes, it's been a very popular program. One of a number of FEMA programs that have been funded up here as a result of these mitigation plans. There have been siren projects. There have been community shelter projects funded. The mass notification system that we're fixing to wrap up now has been funded as a result of this program. So all told, since the first generation of mitigation plans were written, we've got nearly $8 million worth of FEMA funding into the region. So it's been a good effort. And it's not just about the money. It's also being able to take a good, practical, sensible look, like I said, at what your natural hazard threats are, because they don't all involve $100,000 worth of resources. Some of them are just common sense, minor kind of things that you can do to divert stormwater, so it's not flooding into the grocery store, or whatever the case might be. There are things that can be done. But it's by going through that process of taking a look at what your hazards are and taking it to kind of in the weeds, kind of look at what they're all about is where the solutions start rising to the surface.
And then, John, just my second question to that was exactly the 8 million that was referenced for investments in the region. I was just interested to know if you had any statistics as it related to Potter County. If you track any of that, how many of those investments were?
Oh, yeah. Well, I can tell you that at least 50% of the 2,800 safe rooms that have been installed in the region since the start of that program have been installed in Potter and Randall County. The mass notification system is being used by every jurisdiction within the 2-county area. And we're putting our last enhancement into, taking more time than I should, we're putting our last enhancement into that system even as we speak, which will be a connection to the federal bylaw system. And that will give us that 5th avenue for notifying folks, whether they're residents of Potter County or just happen to be passing through Potter County, of sending out alerts and notices about things that could threaten their safety. The IPAWS is a federal alerting system. The way that works is if you happen to be within range of a cell phone and Kevin maps the disaster area and that cell phone tower happens to be in that disaster area, you're going to get a notice to say, stay away from whatever the threat may be, whether you're from North Potter County or from West Virginia. Because it just goes, all it's doing is going to that cell phone if you happen to be within range of that cell phone tower. So that's another benefit to Potter County and to the region as well. You know that all these programs that we're talking about here have some sort of regional impact. And which has been kind of the gratifying part. This is just grinding work, but seeing the projects on the backside and how they're going to be in the entire region is a real serious satisfaction of the process.
Did the reverse 911 concept come from any of these plans?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have a letter on my desk I got from FEMA on Friday. We can apply for funding for some flooding in the area. Potter County having flooding, or was it mostly Randall?
It was mostly in Randall.
That's what I thought. Okay.
But I mean, there's
Is that reversal now?
yeah,
Yeah, it's what and quickly, there's a lot of areas right now that we're finding where they are low line. And you get historic rains, and unfortunately, it creates historic flood impact.
Dave, do you have this on your computer, this resolution?
Yes.
And one correction, the second whereas has no E. We need to put the E in the whereas.
Okay.
If you don't mind doing that for me, I'll be glad to sign it after we make a motion.
Mr. Director, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the Amarillo, Potter, Randall County Hazard Mitigation Plan.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you both for your work.
The only thing, if I may, Julia, can I get a signed copy of that from you? Because I have to send that on to FEMA whenever it's available. Just let me know. I'll try to oversee.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, let's go ahead and move to, number 20. While we're there, let's, instead of her having to sit in the audience for the whole thing, let's go ahead and address this issue. Constable Precinct 2, appointment to fill vacancy. To consider an act upon appointing a person to serve as Constable Precinct 2 until general election November 26th. We had several people apply. We interviewed 2 on Thursday, and unanimously we picked Georgia Estrada to fill that position. Georgia is here today. Georgia, you want to stand up for a second, let everybody see you? She's an employee. I said stand up. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. So we picked Georgia, and she's currently employed with the Sheriff's Office, and she presented herself very well. We picked her, and I think that we're going to allow her to start this new endeavor in her career on September the 18th. Is that satisfactory with you, Georgia?
Yes, ma'am.
It gives you enough time to give your notice to your boss, who is right sitting right there. And gives you time to fill that position too, Sheriff. We have a motion to appoint this.
I make a motion that we approve appointing Georgia Estrada for Constable Precinct 2 for the unexpired term.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? 49.
Congratulations, Mrs. Estrada.
Congratulations. Okay, now, let's go back to number 4, insurance report. To recognize the insurance fund report. I assume there's no problem with it. Okay, so recognize. Treasurer's report, to recognize the monthly treasurer's report, Leanne.
Okay, and I had already started with classes this morning.
That's right, that's right.
Okay, I thought I'd just give you a recap of our totals this morning, where we stand this time of year. With our A and B checking account, which is earning 25 basis points, is $9,780,570.21. Our text pool is earning 7 basis points, is $398,475.14. Text pool prime, which is earning 14 basis points, which if y'all have noticed, those have gone up, they have been 6 and 10, and it's been consistent, so. It's $2,030,799.06. We currently have in investments a 3-month Cedars, which will mature on October 29th, and it's earning 35 basis points for $3 million. A 7-year Cedars, 7 million Cedars for 1 year, which will mature March 31st of 2016. Now this 7 million is the one that at any time we need that cash, it's available without penalty. So that's for 7 million. So our total this morning in general cash, $22,209,844.41.
I just have a follow-up question, and you referenced this with the Cedars and the 7 million, being able to get to those quickly. This may be for Carrie and Sherry as well, because I know the statements will go out later this year because of the changes. Is there any idea of an estimate of how many dollars we might have to reach into this in terms of liquidity to make sure we have enough to offset the expenses until that revenue comes in?
I don't anticipate having to do that.
At all? Okay,
So we'll be
Best
closer on our cash balance, but I think
Okay,
okay,
good.
thank you.
Thank you. Depending on any expenditures you make during the budget cycle, but otherwise we should be great.
Okay.
Okay. All right, number 6, the Veterans Highway designation, to consider and act upon approving an expenditure of approximately $5,000 to place an official sign recognizing the Veterans Highway designation and to approve a revised resolution. We did a resolution last time. The powers that be said we needed to change 2 words, so we did that. And then they came back and said, sorry, but you have to pay for the sign now. So it's $4,445.67. The loop goes around the whole city. In Potter County only has 1 small section, so we only get to pay for 1 sign, or we've so approved. Randall County has to pay for 3, and I talked to Ernie, and he said he's paying, so I hate to be the only one left out that's not paying. The city's paying for a couple too, so. Anyway, is there any questions on why we're doing this?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, sir.
I wasn't brought to this earlier.
Don't know that. Text dot,
Must be a great sign.
Text dot
Can our
made.
sign department do that?
Can we do that?
Yeah. Not that kind of sign.
That's on the magnetic, change the stove.
No, it's a permanent, and it's just green, isn't it green?
Yes, ma'am.
Just a green road sign that says Veterans Highway, that's all.
And who will the money go to?
Text dot for building it and putting it up, and maintaining it.
Where will the funds come from, Judge, which account?
That's a really good question about that 7 million we have.
I spoke with Donnie this morning, and they have about $4,600 in their sign shop account, and, we could use that. He felt comfortable using that, and if they should need additional funds in that account, we could move it from the repair supplies to that acceptable.
And the account is the unsigned shop account?
Sign shop account, that's where our signs typically come from.
I'd like to make a motion as a veteran that we make this available and use the funding out of the sign part of the shop.
As a veteran, I second that.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. 5-0. Thank you very much. I'll get that sign for you, Jack. We will get that sign for you and we'll have it ready this afternoon, okay? Okay. Thank you, sir. Dave, we need to approve the revised resolution, the changing of 2 words or no?
Yeah.
No.
I like it the way it was.
I like it too. But we did change it.
But that's pride of authorship.
I understand. Okay, number 7, Amarillo Potter Events Venue District Presentation of Budget, Presentation and Consideration of the proposed 2015-2016 budget of the Amarillo Potter Event Venue District. I've got Michelle Bonner from the city of Amarillo. How are you today? I'm good. Good, thank you. Did everyone get a copy of the budget? I'm going to work from page 2 of that presentation. The 3rd column. We anticipate the venue district starts the year with available funds of $2,933,523. Total revenue budgeted for next year is $2,805,466. Of that amount, $930,000 comes from the vehicle rental tax, and $1,811,000 comes from the hotel occupancy tax. If you look at their expenditures, they have total expenditures in the budget of $2,651,696. And I'm going to go through a few of those. Professional services, $18,000 is associated with the Adequan event. The venue district participates in the event trust fund, and that's the application process for that. The audit fee of $6,656. The account labeled Amarillo Tri-State participation of $275,000. That's for improvements to the ANC Center. And just as a reminder, we reviewed this last year. The project that was approved by the voter has 2 pieces. The ANC, which is at the Tri-State Fairgrounds. And so there's a footprint associated with that project. So any improvements inside that footprint are eligible to be, this money can be used for. The second part of the project was the improvements at the Civic Center for the meeting space, and the same thing at the Civic Center. Any improvements inside that footprint can be funded by the venue district.
Michelle, to that question, if I may, to that comment, are there projected improvements currently slated?
They are working on those, so what we did for next year is we have a total amount of $275,000, and they are working on some improvements.
But we don't know what those are.
I don't have a list of those right now. I know that they're working with the fairgrounds to come up with those.
And is that the same for the Civic Center?
The Civic Center has a budget of $300,000. 150 of that are going to be used for, they have moved the kitchen facility, and we're going to ask the venue district to fund $150,000 of it. That's not the total cost, but that facility is going to be, the improved kitchen, the expansion to that is going to benefit all of the Civic Center. So we're asking for a portion of it.
The account labeled ANC Management Contract, $328,248. That's directly paid to Tri-State and is associated with running the ANC Center, running those facilities. And property insurance for the year of $39,000, the ANC Center. And then the Civic Center Management Contract, $398,000. Again, that's associated with the operating cost of that portion of the facility that was funded by the venue district. Event development, $268,138. And if you'll flip over 2 pages down at the bottom, there's a list of the anticipated events. If you have any questions. A small amount of fiscal agent fees, $3,400, and that's just a city piece. The city does all the bookkeeping work for the venue district. And then civic center improvements that we just reviewed, $300,000. And debt service, $1,015,200, which is the 2 bond issues that were originally done by this revenue stream. For total expenses of $2,651,696, and leaves you, last line, reserve balance of $3,087,293. And just to go over, the venue district has a policy to set aside $500,000 as common reserves, and then the other reserves are split 60-40 between the ANC and the city pieces of that project, and that was how the original project was approved. So that leaves in reserves for the ANC piece of the project, $1,355,635, and the city's portion for the civic center piece of the project, $1,231,658. Any questions?
No questions, but just a comment, Judge. It would be interesting to know if this footprint resides where some of those roofs were recently replaced, and if there were any potential dollars that we weren't aware of.
They've replaced their own roofs of those funds, so I know that the footprint isn't overlapping on the buildings there.
Okay.
We're looking at.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Do I have a motion to approve this?
I make a motion that we approve the 2015-2016 budget for the Amarillo Potter Event Venue District.
Second. Did y'all get that? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. 5-0, thank you. All right, Tax Share Program. Do you hear an update from Potter County District Attorney Randy Sims on the Tax Share Program to take any action necessary? I believe he is not here right now. We'll come back. Okay, we'll come back to that. Number 9, Fire and Rescue Station 3 project to receive and recognize 100% construction documents and OPC and take necessary action required to proceed with the project bidding phase.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good. Look, y'all know Paul there. You have in your packets the OPC that we received. As we talked about in the last session, we were talking about it during budget. We went back to the committee over the last few weeks and we put in some alternates to the project. We changed the type of paving for the parking lot and had some other things that are going to be alternates in it, so that when we go out for bids, if the bids come in over the budget number that we have, that's been established in the budget, we will change to the alternates to get the cost down to those amounts. We won't know the final cost, as we've said many times, we won't know the final cost until we receive the bids back. And so what we're asking for today is to recognize that the 100% documents on construction ready to go, and to allow us to go out for bid to get the contractors to tell us what they're going to build us for.
I have a question. Water heater, $84,000. Can you kind of let me know what's going on here? For water heaters?
$84,000 for water heaters?
That's what it looks like here. Okay.
What page you put in?
18.
$84,250.
That's a big old project.
The $84,250 you're seeing there is the plumbing total. The hot water heaters, the fixtures, whether it's the lavatories, the water closets, that's all part of that $84,250. So actually on the hot water heaters, it's just designated $6,000 for 2 hot water heaters. So it's the whole plumbing.
On that same page though, I also had a question, Commissioner, on the fixtures, because they're roughly 3,500, so that line item alone is 52,000. I was interested to know what those fixtures were.
It's any of the plumbing fixtures, such as your toilet, your lavatories, your sinks. Basically, it's a number applied to each fixture for doing the rough end, the finishing, and buying the fixture itself. Floor drains, they're all associated. Well, floor drains are actually a separate line item, they're separate. Fixtures are actual plumbing fixtures. That's not saying a toilet's gonna cost you $3,500, but to get the plumbing and water and everything that work to it, it's just an opinion of probable cost for construction.
Commissioner Vaughn, I'm also referencing the attachment outside of the packet that was provided. It looks like the OPC evaluation dated September 13, 2015. And then it's comparing it to November 3rd, 2014. It appears that there were quite a few increases added to that. Oh, I'm sorry, July. And I'm referencing this column right here. Yeah. I know that there have been several iterations of the committee kind of going back and looking to see if there's any opportunity to look at a different cost. But it appears that this is probably where we're landing, is close to 2 million. Is that?
Stands at 1.761 right now, right?
Yes, ma'am, plus the, items that are in the grocery list that go along with it.
Yes, that's just a project. Let me present something to you that we presented to the committee. The overall project with the grocery list, for which included the 10% contingency on the project, was valued at $2,137,000. Out of that, what we did is we went through and removed the A&E fees for the architect for what we still owe him, plus the remaining fees for his services. So basically, we had brought the project from 2.137 down to 1,970,000. Out of that, I went through and made $18,000 worth of cuts to the grocery list. The project stood at $1,951,000. Out of the current known alternates that we had in there, there was another reduction of $33,500. The commissioners approved $1,937,839 at budget. What we're asking the court to do is approve that amount there to see if we can now bring the project in at $1,970,000.
And then just a quick clarification, if I may, Mike, that wasn't a unanimous vote in terms of the approval. So I just, just to be fair.
Okay, any more questions? Make a motion.
Move that we receive and recognize the 100% construction documents in OPC, take the necessary actions required to proceed with the project bidding phase.
I'll second that.
Okay, have a motion and a second. Raise your, all in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? Did you say yes, John?
Yes.
4-1.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, do we want to do budget now or come back? Want to do it now? Okay, for 10, budget and tax rate for fiscal year 2015-2016, to conduct a public hearing on the proposed budget for fiscal year 2015-2016, to make any appropriate changes in the proposed budget. Conclusion of the public hearing to adopt the final budget for fiscal year 2015-2016, and budgets for the Hunt County Special Funds. Okay. When we last met on the budget, we proposed a 4.75 tax increase. We went back and looked at, we added a few more things. We're removing, I'm just gonna say, I think y'all have a copy of this right at the very, very bottom. We're removing the position from the district clerk's office. She is now going to the county attorney's office. So that frees up $45,672. We reduced the tiers pledged by $16,500. We reduced the property appraisal expense by $25,000. Carrie can talk to this if you want, that's what that is. Stadium repairs and maintenance, we increased by $89,000. We're giving her 12, so, right?
Yeah, it was originally budgeted at
11. So this gives her a total of $100,000 that she specifically asked for to fix some specified items. And the Band-Aids just keep getting more expensive, that's all I can say. We added dues for constable number 4, so dues for in the amount of $260. We adjusted the sheriff's department step increases by $59,000. And state supplement from the district attorney for $4,400, which leaves us in the good by $378,948 at the end of the day. So, if there's any questions or comments, any public, I'll welcome that right now. Any questions or comments? Do I have a motion?
I just have a quick question, if I may, Judge.
Sure.
So the 378,000 now in the good, does that give us any room to adjust that quite significant increase? Or are we still projecting the 4.75% increase?
This would leave us with a 98-day estimated fund balance, and our policy says that we'll maintain a 90-day. So there is a little bit there, but not much.
Just a little bit of wiggle room, but not enough to
80 days, about how much, $1 million?
Close, and we're currently at 107 days, so we're dropping 9 days in the current year, which I proposed here.
Okay.
Okay. We have a motion? Anybody? I'll make a motion that we,
We're looking at 4.25.
4.7.
As an increase,
3 cents, yeah. Any questions, any comments?
Well, yes, I'll make a comment. I know that it sounds like a lot, and it is, for the tax increase. But I think if we think about the things that we're doing this year, and we have decided as a commission that it is important, we're gonna build a fire station. More than likely gonna do the clerk and judge's package. We're paying for our portion of the new garage. Just those 3 items alone make up for the increase. And they're one-time deals. I think we have to take care of our employees, and that's something that I certainly do support. There are some other things, the mental health court, CPS court, there's some things that we're doing that we haven't done in the past, so somewhere we've come up with quite a bit of money. And so, I know it's easy to sell the negative, but I think we really have to look at the positive.
And I would just add, Judge, I think we have to also be mindful to our taxpayers that we have a future agenda item to now look at some significant strategic plans that this county has not seen in terms of a dollar amount. So for this 1 year, I would absolutely agree with you, Commissioner Church. There's some good things. In my opinion, there's absolutely on the same side a few things we could have done better in terms of budgeting. But on the cusp of that, for our taxpayers, I can't imagine what's next in the years to come, and I have to be very honest and forthcoming about that.
I don't think there's any of us that don't feel that way. You know, we're all concerned about what the taxes are. I know I've caught a lot of stuff over the last couple of weeks over this, so, but I think, I don't know, I just think we have to be positive about it. Have to look forward, and I think, know that the fire station, some don't want that, but you look at where it's gonna be, the area it's gonna serve, and the potential growth in that area, I think this is absolutely something we have to have.
And I found myself this budget cycle, I think over the past years, asking for innovation of some type. At this point, I was pleading for some type of innovation. And so even our future agenda item that we have for our clerk's package, that we know is a huge dollar amount. At one point, we had an IT director who stood up and said, we have in-house staff that could essentially build some of this. And how do we start to leverage that? And unfortunately, sometimes we follow the path of least resistance, and we need leadership in the county to sing that same message with us, because it won't fix itself during budget year. And I did find myself unfortunately pleading and had to retract a few of my statements because I felt like I could have said them maybe in a better way. But I mean, at this point, we are absolutely at that crossing. We have to be more innovative for our taxpayers because this is now costing them money.
And on that, we need this case management. We are finally coming up into the current century. So we're finally going to get something that works for all the judges, for all the clerks, for the DA, for all the district judges. Everyone's going to have a package that they can work with and will help them do their job better. As for the fire department, it's a public safety issue. We have to have a fire department to serve the people in that area. And without it, who are they going to come to when their house burns down? Me. I don't want to be the one to tell them sorry. We didn't vote for that. So we have to do what we have to do to keep things going for the county. And as far as raising taxes, you have to raise taxes a little bit every year, just a little bit every year to keep up. This is why we have to raise them so much this time, because they weren't raised for 3 out of the last 6 years. So we have to do something to keep it going. We can't live on the same amount of money that we lived on 5 years ago. We just can't do it. So with that said, I need a motion. Anybody wants to do that? Not, I'll move. I'll make a motion that we approve the budget for fiscal year 2016 with the I'm going to do this, carry these tax rates. The M&O rate will be 0.63306. The debt rate will be 0.03096. The total tax rate will be 0.66402. That's a 3-cent increase from last year. And that includes not only a tax increase, but a 2% salary increase for employees. Do I have a second?
I'll say that.
Kelly? A motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed? 4-1. Thank you, people.
And now just to remind everybody, we'll now have
Yeah.
two final
on 2 meetings on tax rate increase. The effective tax rate, and as we discussed earlier, those will be on the 3rd and 8th. The 3rd will be at 5:30, as y'all indicated, and the 8th will be at 10:30. And then we will, you have to wait until the next meeting, after the second public meeting to have a final vote on tax.
So do we need to make a motion in order, motion second on this, the public hearings?
No, I think we
Okay.
established that here, that schedule.
Okay.
And our motion just now is still it's proposed.
Right, yeah.
Okay, number 11, tax increment reinvestment zone, tiers, do your report from Commissioner Jones.
Yes, we had a first meeting, tax increment reinvestment zone number 1 on August 13th. And we had a couple items of business. Number 1, we approved the proposed budget for the tiers for the year. And just briefly, we are looking at estimated income of $604,352. Total recurring expenses of $277,041. However, we do have I think it's $2.5 million commitment to the catalyst projects. As they start to happen, then we're gonna have to come up with that money. We show we have $3,121 in the account, so that was the budget. The second thing that we discussed was the Herring Hotel. There had been a pending petition, or application, I should say, to tiers since 2012, asking for tiers incentives to redo the Herring Hotel. Because of contractual things with the new hotel, there is a 5-year no compete clause, and so that application was refused. The next item that we took up was an application from the Herring Bank, which is being renovated over here at Pearson on 5th. They had asked for $50,000 of tiers funds for streetscape, and that was approved. That was what we did.
Okay, thank you. So recognized. Number 12, bailiff's fees to consider an act on reporting a $5 bailiff fee pursuant to local government code section 118.131 on all civil cases filed after January 1st, 2016. Is Jeremy here? No. Jeremy came to see me last week with this proposal. He wants to charge a $5 fee, which will in turn help pay for his bail. The only reason we can do this is because it doesn't fall under a court, it falls under the sheriff's office, since the bailiff comes from the sheriff's office. So he thinks it's a good idea. It's gonna raise about $10,000 a year, we think. And you want me to bring this up to the Commissioner's Court for your approval.
Carrie, if approved, how will that income be slotted? Will it just be under special revenue, so we have it to offset the position, or what was your thought around that?
Right, it would be its own revenue line item in the general fund.
We do have one reservation about it, as from a legal standpoint, I think in this situation, I think the commissioners, before you approve that fee, we need to set the fee so that it matches the expenses, if you see what I'm saying. I mean, we can't, we need to have, the commissioners need to have some kind of evidence about what that cost of the bail would be. And the fee can, in other words, it's not a revenue generating fee, it's intended to cover a definite expense. And so, I mean, you don't have to be detailed about it, but you do have to be able to show on the record that you set the fee with an eye to what the expense was going to be.
So do you have any project or paperwork regarding that?
I'm assuming it'd be the salary and fringe benefits that go
Yeah,
with
so
that
I
position.
mean, it's gonna generate $10,000 a year. I think that's, your maintenance is gonna cost you more than that, so you probably okay, which is, that's Scott, so.
So there's just an incentive to, just to help pay for, there's nothing else, it's not gonna have you travel or?
No, it's just,
Yeah, so long as the fee isn't raising more money than is necessary to pay these bailiffs, I think it's probably okay. But in the past, when fees like this have been challenged in court, the recurring basis for the challenge is you just arbitrarily set a fee and didn't give any consideration to what the reimbursement is intended to be.
I would make a motion that we approve the $5 bailiff fee pursuant to local government code section 118.131 on all civil cases filed after January 1, 2016 to offset the position salary and fringe benefits.
I have a motion and a second, all in favor, raise your right hand. 5-0. Thank you very much. Number 13, I have a question on this one. I don't have any backup in the agenda. Elections to consider and approve the following orders for the November 3rd constitutional amendment and special election. Did we forget to vote on this last time?
Yes, you did.
How did we do that?
I don't know.
Yeah, we were discussing whether,
And we actually had a discussion of did we leave it out, did we not, and we thought we would.
Okay. So So I need a motion from somebody, and we need to pay attention to this one.
I make a motion that we approve the following orders for the November 3rd constitutional amendment and special election. The order pending early voting ballot board judge and establishing the maximum number of clerks for the ballot board.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand, please. That would be 5-0, Julie. Thank you. Thanks for putting that back on. Number 14, motor vehicle registration, optional fees to consider and act upon continuing the road and bridge fee. Transportation code number section 502.401 and adopting the child safety fee, section 502.403, effective January 1, 2016. This, I've never received this letter. Apparently it went to Sherry Ayler. She brought it to us. The deadline to do this was Friday. So, since I'm assuming we're not going to change the fees, we can maybe get this submitted this morning at some point. Maybe Shannon can scan and email this to them if we approve it. So this is something we do every year, right, Dave?
Yes.
Are there any changes that you know of in any of the fees?
I know that we rely heavily on the county road and bridge fee in our budget. Is that right?
Yes, we do. So that remains the same, $10, correct? And the child safety fee is $1.50,
Which we've never done.
we've never done that.
We don't charge that.
I think the law actually says September 1st, that's, the agency says they
The
want it
agency
Friday,
says, okay.
but that's all right, so, we're still okay. That's
Okay,
more of
good.
a, aspirational.
Well, it said, I know, okay. Yeah.
well, I move that we continue the county road and bridge fee on vehicle registrations at $10 per registration.
Second?
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your hand. 5-0. Thank you. Number 15, Texas Department of Family and Protective Services, Title IV-E Legal Services Contract, to consider and act upon the approval of the contract between Potter County and Child Welfare, and to authorize me to sign the contract. Carrie and Scott.
We do this every year. DFPS reimburses some of the expenses we incur as a result of our statutorily required representation of CPS in child abuse and neglect cases. So, I don't think there's much difference in this year's contract.
Okay, do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the contract between Clark County and Child Welfare to authorize Judge Tanner to sign the contract.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you very much. Is Randall here yet? We're gonna skip past number 16. Number 17, master plan, Sheriff's Administration Office, to consider and act upon the following. Accept the master plans that have been developed with Sheriff's Admin, to authorize our architects to proceed with the development of construction documents, and to recommend the utilization to allocate funds for professional services. John, you're under a time limit, sir.
Yeah, no, we need that. Need that Scott to back up here, he got his comments. All right. I'm just gonna kind of set the stage for people who really know what they're talking about. These are the 5 things you really need to keep in mind as you're considering this presentation here. The master plans for both the district courts building and the sheriff's department office have been complete. But today we're here primarily to talk about the sheriff's department office. 2 separate projects, so they'll kind of go on 2 separate paths for the court to consider. That's why we're kind of breaking them up that way. Just to remind you that the committee was charged with looking at long-term solutions to your facility needs. And having assessed this for the past 5 years, the committee has come to the conclusion that trying to renovate or enlarge, knock down walls, whatever, as far as the sheriff's department office is concerned, it really doesn't work for that facility. So what they're proposing here is the replacement of that facility, and the master plan was based on that assumption. As they start talking about dollars and cents here, keep in mind that those dollars and cents are all going to be subject to change. This is just kind of the beginning of the courtship. Whether that courtship works out in the end, it's still yet to be determined, but this is just the first phase of courting this project. And so all the numbers that we're talking about today can be changed as you get deeper in the relationship with the design process and that sort of thing. Recommendations are at the bottom of that handout I gave you today. Committing to any of those recommendations doesn't necessarily commit the county to going out and building a new sheriff's department office as proposed in the master plan. Again, you're going to be doing more fact finding as you move into the design process for this facility. And everything will start coming clear, including dollars and cents, at which point in time the Commissioner's Court is going to have to decide if you're going to push forward with construction of the project or not. That decision is yet to be made, but you need to get more information before that decision can be made. That's part of the purpose of the recommendations today. And again, we're putting both projects on 2 different tracks. So we're here primarily to talk about the Sheriff's Department office today, and then in a future meeting we'll repeat a similar process for the district courts. So with that said, I'll turn it over to the experts.
John, well, looks like we're having a little difficulty with our PowerPoint. I think I'm gonna go ahead and start while we get that going. Thank you so much for having me here today too. Thank you. So we're here to talk about the district court's sheriff facilities master plan. As y'all probably you all know, we started on this back in 2011. We looked actually at the district court's building first to assess that building because it has so many different problems. That report showed that it would take about $14 million to do the needed repairs to that building. That doesn't include any space renovations or added space that are needed for that building. That's just with repairs to take care of those serious problems, that are really critical that exist today. And I really appreciate those that did attend last week to the tour through both the sheriff administration and district court's buildings to take a look at those problems. That was followed by another study, which is programming and master planning, where we went through and looked at the facilities and what their current space utilization is and what their future needs are, both in 5 years and then projected to 2035. So today what we're looking at is a focused master plan for how to handle the additional space needs. And we worked with a really wonderful committee, a strategic planning committee really led by Judge Tanner. Commissioner Kelly was on it. Several other county officials that are here today that provide their own expertise. And then we're really fortunate also to have each of you to provide a citizen to sit on that committee. They were just wonderful to work with and provided some great input that results in the master plan that we have today. This master plan really included the building program, like I mentioned, finding out what the space needs are. What we did is we really looked at refining that program, taking out square footage where we needed to. There were a few spaces we added. Overall, I have to say we ended up with some reductions in square footage, mostly in the district courts building, that were rather significant. We also developed the basis of design, that's what we call it. It's basically where we go through and make sure we understand, how are we going to utilize this site, what materials and features, and are we, looking at concrete or asphalt. We really get into the details. What are the exterior envelope materials of the building? What are the interior finishes and, public spaces versus utilitarian spaces? And that helps us a lot in developing our design. The next part is the conceptual master plan design, which I'm going to talk about in just a few moments, which is what are the concepts and where are the buildings going to go. We also looked at, the demolition of several buildings that are part of this master plan to make this work, and then developed a project schedule and phasing strategy. So first thing, and I'm sorry, this is pretty small, I don't know if y'all can read it, but I'm going to hit some key numbers here. Currently, the Sheriff Administration Building is just a little over 20,000 square feet. The current space needs are programmed at 29,501 square feet, with future needs up to 2035 of 35,912 square feet. During the process of this master plan too, we were asked to look at moving some of the administrative from the detention center into the Sheriff Administration Building. So the Sheriff Administration building size that the master plan was 42,218 square feet. So basically a little over double the size of what currently exists, which are what we found the Sheriff Administration needs. Sheriff Maintenance Garage, that was programmed a little over 16,000 square feet. A small storage building, we replaced the existing Code 15, it's on a little wing of the detention center, 1,500 square foot. And then the District Courts building, which currently the District Courts building is 112,000 square feet roughly. The current space needs for that building are actually 138,811 square feet. And the projected future needs to 2035, 143,560 square feet, which is a 28% increase over what exists right now. So working with the Strategic Planning Committee, we really identified some major goals on this master plan design. One of them was to locate buildings where they're going to be efficient, connecting county business, build them to accommodate expansion for future needs projected to 2035, and then site those buildings or design them in a way that allows for future expansion. The sheriff buildings are all designed so that they can be added onto horizontally. The district courts building, we're actually looking at building on vertically, so it can be expanded in the future. The sheriff's building being designed for 35 to 50 year life expectancy, and the district courts building for 75 to 100 year plus life expectancy. Also building the buildings to be energy efficient, have healthy air quality, meet ADA and building code requirements, which now there's a lot of deficiencies that exist in both buildings. The district courts building would also be designed as an enduring piece of civic architecture. We're looking at the use of stone and or terracotta on the building, and also complementing Art Deco forms, like exist now on several county buildings. We also want to make sure that buildings are economical to maintain, and then we have a value-driven design that we achieve through really efficient space planning, building system integration, and material selection. So this image right here is of actually the airbase site where the detention center is right now. The buildings in red are the buildings that we're looking at tearing down as part of this master plan project. The ones up to the top being the old jail, and the one at the bottom that has a cruciform shape being the Code 15. It's currently being utilized for storage. Both of them in really extremely poor condition, foundation issues, mold, not really suitable for renovation, adapted use for occupancy. So this is an image of our master plan design. As you can see, the white building is existing sheriff the detention building. Top right being the new sheriff administration building that could be expanded to the right. And then to the left of that, the sheriff maintenance building, which could be expanded to the top. And then very small, off that little wing is where that small metal building, 1,500 square feet, will replace the existing Code 15 building. And here you can see just an enlargement of the sheriff admin and maintenance buildings with the associated site work and parking. We also developed a concept rendering of what the sheriff administration building could look like. I would like to mention that the 3 sheriff buildings, they're all metal buildings. You know, they're being done very economically. On the sheriff administration building, it is a metal building that's metal clad on the outside. It also has on the front, you know, to kind of dress up more, brick masonry, metal panels, and real energy efficient glass system with some canopies for shading devices. This is a picture of the ground floor plan for the maintenance garage. Mainly that's for maintenance, outfitting vehicles, storage of existing vehicles for the sheriff, and this is all metal building, metal facade on the outside. Just kind of a 3D concept rendering just so you can see the forms of the building. Now this is the downtown district court site. Top right building being the district court's building right now. Bottom left being the sheriff administration building. Currently, there's programmed, you'll see in the plan here, just a second, 260 spaces is what we need to do the district court's building downtown. Actually, one problem with adding on and renovating the existing sheriff administration building is that you would need more parking, which we don't have currently. You would pretty much have to build a parking garage or acquire additional land to park. And that's beyond the 150,000 that, you know, currently you've already got committed to with the city parking garage. So in our master plan design, after the sheriff administration building is constructed, that would involve the demolition of the Code 15 building and the old jail. The sheriff would then move into that new facility out by the detention center. The sheriff administration building downtown here will be torn down. The new district court's building you see here that's brown on the left will be constructed. And then the existing district court's building just to the east of the courthouse will become parking and a park. Currently, the way the space planning works out is that we need the 260 stalls, like I mentioned, as minimum. We have 150 stalls in the parking garage, and we have 115 spots that we provided on surface parking. So we have 5 extra right now in this plan. This park plan includes plaza, kind of large gathering space, amphitheater space, smaller gathering areas, some really wonderful landscaping, and potentially even some food trucks and power for different festival activities for the community. So I think it'd be a really wonderful space and a great enhancement to the downtown area. The last thing I just want to mention was schedule. When could this happen? How long does it take? We're focusing today here on the sheriff buildings. If we begin work in a couple of weeks on the sheriff building design, first thing we do is not only just refine the design and work with the committee on that, but we start demolition of the Code 15 building and the old jail out at the detention center site. The drawings, demolition would be complete by March of next year. We would, in April, go to bid. Bids would come in and notice to proceed would go to contractor on May 24th. And the construction period is 12 months for construction of the building, and it could be complete by July of 2017. After that is complete, we will go ahead and demolish the sheriff administration building that exists right now on the site. So, welcome to answer any questions that you have.
Couple of questions. Just for curiosity, the sheriff's administration facility versus the district courts, noted that you had 25 and 50 years of viability at the sheriff's administration and 75 to 100 years on the district courts. Any thought of why the difference?
No, it comes down really to cost, honestly. You know, it's you're looking at doing the sheriff building out of a metal building structure. And unlike a typical metal building that just has the metal cladding right over the insulation, we would still be adding a sheathing and an underlayment to help with durability, because it's an occupied building, you know, it's not like a shed, unconditioned space. But those buildings do have kind of a shelf life, you know, and with that type of construction, we definitely could increase the longevity of that building, the sheriff administration building, but we also need to adjust construction methods, and which is also going to affect some of the cost. Yeah, so we're kind of trying to see how much economy and value we can get out of the building. It most likely is going to last longer than that. Just like honestly, the 75 to 100 year, you know, I see a building being built into the quality that you have here today, the Potter County Courthouse, Santa Fe building. Those buildings, you know, that we're in today, you know, are going to last, you know, well over 100 years, and that's what I really do expect. That's what we put together in the base design as a minimum quality to that.
Second question, going to the committee, and after the committee reviewed this over a 2-month period, do we feel that that was a sort of accelerated rate to be able to come back with the recommendations? That affording them enough time? And then are we also looking at, I know we had visited on these issues about involving, being as transparent as we possibly can and involving much of the public as we can as well. So that was another issue thrown in there as far as is the public looking at involving them because of the high dollar amount that we're looking at going, and again, the accelerated rate for this committee. It seems like the Princeton was short of time to have the opportunity to make a recommendation.
Yeah, we actually started the project in the middle of March, and we were anticipating it being about a 4-month project. So we actually got another extra month added. So I felt really good about that because it was a hard push, you know, at the beginning. But yeah, I felt really comfortable. I mean, myself personally, others could speak that were on the committee, but I felt like it was actually just the right amount of time without any lag in the design process.
And in actuality, the feasibility study was done in 2011. So we've been looking at this for a long time. I mean, a long time.
Okay, well, I'm more than speaking
Yeah.
to the committee's part
Right.
the public.
Well, the committee is made up of mostly the same people. We shortened the members and added one. Unique. So yeah, it's like they've all known about this for quite a long time.
Yeah, we really got some great involvement from the citizens who did serve on the committee, that each of you appointed, and I was
Greg
involved.
Davis is here right now. I just wanted to let everybody know that he's one of these citizens and he was on this committee. And are there any of the other ones here? I don't see anybody else. Thank you, Craig, for the work you did on that. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I really felt like they provided some great input. They were there for the last several months as part of the process, and I was really pleased that they not only voted for approval of the master plan, but moving forward with the projects unanimously, the entire committee, including the citizens.
Thank you, Commissioners. Anything else?
Commissioner.
As a member of that committee, I felt very comfortable with this whole process worked. A lot of work went into putting this together, and I think we've come up with a project that's hopefully suitable for this commission and for the county. That's something that has to be done, and the sooner the better.
And I have a couple comments if I may, Judge. And so I sat on the committee prior to Judge Tanner taking that, so was involved in several years of the detail. And to your point, you're correct, 2011, really 2012, 2013 is where there were a lot of different schematics, and what if you did this, and what if you did that? So I think it's been through several life cycles, and some of the concerns that I shared then, I'll continue to kind of share now, but I really have three main issues that I want to make sure that the court is aware of. When we received our individual briefings, one of the main elements that caught my attention in terms of the square footage, so we spent a lot of time talking today about the footprint of what the needs might be, and that's divvied up by department and even for the district courts building. So it was interesting to me that, let's say Commissioner Kelly, you were in charge of a department and you have 5 employees today, and the question may have been phrased somehow, in 30 years, how many employees do you expect to have? So you're saying, well, I better have at least 10 employees by then to be able to offset this volume. More people means more square footage. That is a direct driver to the expense. So there's an additional amount of personnel added in there as a base assumption. In my opinion, that's a slippery slope because we don't know that today. And I understand that they have to discern and use their best judgment, so I get that. One of the items that I asked Larry about, so this won't be a new statement to him, is there anything that you use as a third party to say, well, you're saying 10 employees, but we better at least plan for 7 to 8-ish, like some type of barometer that it doesn't turn into this massive wish list in terms of personnel. So I just wanted to share that with the whole committee. That absolutely caught my attention. The second fundamental issue in terms of the parking schematics, it's not a surprise where we're strategically located, and we essentially have free parking. If this should be built via some form of this schematic, we would be competing with the parking garage by the city that has been slated for paid parking. So I just want to make sure that everybody is aware of that up front. And then my final piece, and then I'll be quiet here, Judge. Because I believe very passionate that this will change the landscape for our taxpayers. So I feel it in my heart to speak my piece here. The last and certainly not least is the public input component. So you're right, this county has been vetting this through for several years, but it's only been 4 months roughly that our citizens have now been involved in that process. We went for a public announcement last Thursday, if you will. So in my opinion, I think it's very premature for us to be taking any formal action today. In my opinion, this should be going to public input in terms of some form of town hall meetings throughout the county, and especially because we traditionally take on bonds that are the certificates of obligation that go without a vote. And if ever there is more of a time to hear what our taxpayers are saying, it is now. They are demanding votes, as they should, when there are high dollar amounts at stake. I just share all that to say this whole project and the dollar amounts that will go with that, I feel like we have an added responsibility to help be transparent, and sometimes that means a little lead time up front to take this to the public and start to educate and then take formal action. So in my opinion, I feel like we're reversed in our current state. And I'll be quiet, Judge.
Well, but I will.
Please do.
But I do. Yeah. No, I mean, I don't think you're jumping the gun at all. And I think there's gonna be plenty of time. And, it's gonna take a number of months to go through this design process. And the thing to keep in mind about both these facilities, these aren't like dairy queens. These are vital facilities that serve vital functions that benefit the taxpayers here in Potter County. Yes, it's just been within the last 4 months or so that you've started getting a lot of citizen input on this process. There will be plenty more time for that sort of thing as you start moving towards a decision of, are we going to move forward with construction? If so, how are we going to do that? I mean, there'll be a lot of time for that, Commissioner, to occur. And I don't think that's what the committee has recommended at this juncture. Is just, what they're going to be recommending at the end of this presentation is basically acceptance of the master plan, because that's just kind of the squishy picture. That squishy picture is going to have to be defined during the construction design process. And as you go through that construction design process, you'll start honing in on square footage, actual square footage needs, a lot of which is based on the population projections for the next 35, 40 years, which is what the term was for long term was used, is 35 to 40 years. So those things will get a lot more defined, and even as that process is going, you're going to have to engage your taxpayers in this process as well too. First of all, to understand the necessity for this project, why these facilities are needed and what benefit they get from them. Those are going to be extremely important points to make during the process, but yet invite public input because it is their dollars you're going to be spending. But again, that's not where we're at today. It basically, here's the work that the committee has done. Is it acceptable to you at this stage and stage of the game? And we're not necessarily even talking about the district court's building today. We're just talking about the sheriff's department office and the facilities that could go out by the jail if you choose to pursue that. And then the other part of that decision point being that we go ahead and start moving into, do you allow the committee to start negotiating a contract that you would consider a future commissioners court meeting to start the design process?
If I can just say one thing, because John, just respectfully disagree on one piece of that, and the fire station project that we just voted on really speaks to that. I know this document says we won't be immediately committing the court to the construction, but we are indirectly now committing to an estimate of what those costs might be. And that fire station project, it was the exact same presentation of, let's take a look at the schematics, we're not committing to anything, and as time started to evolve, we are so ingrained in that project, there is little to no wiggle room in terms of the expense. I'm gonna be just very honest about that process. And I understand there's lots of reasons why, which is why I feel like out of the gate, I'm gonna really give you my barometer of what I see as concerns, and the expense is a big one on me. And I'm sorry, Commissioner.
Oh, absolutely, and I agree with that. But I do know also that today is better than 6 months down the road as far as construction costs.
Oh, sure.
And that incrementally goes up. My concern is, and as far as the transparency issue, and I think you may have addressed that, as far as this committee has not been exhausted, correct?
No.
Okay, so
the work's just beginning.
Okay, and that reassures me a lot more than just moving forward with just the departmental plans. So as long as we have that input, and I think we may be innovatively be able to utilize a committee to address the public, so to speak, if you would. And I think if that's something that we can really discern and address and plan for, I think that would go a lot better. And because, as a rule, we are elected officials, and we are accountable to our taxpayers and our public, but we are elected for that principal reasons that we represent them. So I don't have so much an anguish and a gnashing of the teeth by just throwing that totally to the public, as long as we have some representation. And I think we've done our due diligence to select that committee and have them ingrained in that ongoing process.
Except item B on the agenda is to proceed with the development of construction documents. That doesn't signal to me that there's time for public input. If we are moving to construction documents, that sends a signal to me that we are moving with a project. So that transparency piece, that is absolutely a slippery slope.
It's still a check and balance.
And Commissioner, I hear what you're saying. And lessons learned. I mean, if you've had some issues with communications, and I'm not throwing anybody under the bus, but with the fire station in that project, then we just need to report back to you more frequently during this process. And we'll have to create a strategy, drawing on the expertise of our citizen representatives as to how we schedule this town hall meetings, how we get input on this. A lot of that town hall meeting business is going to be more of an education opportunity and to take observations from the public. Again, you're talking about, and Commissioner, I think you alluded to this, is just, doing what you were elected to do and make hard decisions at some point in time about facilities and services that you're statutorily obliged to provide your residents. And this kind of falls into that vein. But, as we, and again, you can get through that construction design process, finalize your costs and say, okay, we can't afford to do this. We have to go back to the drawing board, of course. You know, what's at play there is whatever you pay for those assigned services. But you still have not you have not said I do yet at that stage of the game. You can still know the process.
Just from a fiscal perspective, this is something this county has never seen, and so in my opinion, we can't do what we've always done in terms of projects and it's just nothing we've ever done, quite honestly. And I'm speaking in terms of the dollar amount.
I think you're right, Pat, so
Yeah.
the treasurer always been wanting to get in here, but as long as we have a committee ongoing and working involved individually with the project, and we do have two representatives from the court put on there that are going to brief us and keep us up to date on as much as possible, then I don't feel more comfortable. Sure.
Thank you. I think we need more information to go to the public. Right now, you're guessing what this project is going to be, basically. I feel more comfortable to go talk to my people, or my people, our people, all of us. If I knew had more information as far as what the design is going to be, more closely what the costs are going to be. I don't. It's always been my position, we have to sell a need before we can sell a solution. But we have to know what the solution is as well. And I don't think in any of our minds, at least on my part, that there's any question about the need. All you have to do is walk through those buildings and have some things pointed out to you. But anyway, I think we need to proceed.
Mr. Phillips, do you have anything to add? Is there anything else? Okay, I'm gonna make a motion, the court accept and approve the final draft of the 2015 master plan for the sheriff's admin, and to authorize the court to authorize the Butler County Phase 3 Advisory Committee to initiate contract negotiations for architects for development and construction design documents for the sheriff's admin.
I'll second.
The motion and second. All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed? 41. Thank you. Thank you. Randall? We waited on you.
Just about right.
First of all, we can go back and you can tell us about the tech share program.
Okay. The tech share prosecutor, we went live 2 weeks ago on the tech share prosecutor itself. We're experiencing the normal growing pains of trying to find out where all the toys are on the playground, so to speak. But things are going real well. Positive story, our intake secretary used to have to get into 3 different programs and move files around a bunch and things like that. And an officer came in on the intake, signed it, she took the complaint, scanned it, and then she was standing there with paper in her hand, put it into the paper file, and she was going, I had to have missed something. It can't be that easy anymore. And she hadn't missed a thing. And so it's clear that the thing's going to save us some time on the intake. It's going to clearly help us on our 3914 with the speed of that. Right now, the biggest issue we're facing is in regards to the audio video from the law enforcement. It's just not easy to deal with that. We're not the only ones struggling with that, and we're involved with the people that are on the forefront of we're on the forefront with them and working on that. We became the first prosecution office in the state of Texas last week to convert law enforcement media into an MP4. All those stuff from law enforcement is a proprietary player. So if we don't have the proprietary player, or they don't convert it for us, then we can't see it. If we can't see it, we can't get the defense to see it. Those sort of things. So the conversion of those things, particularly with it having the the metadata behind it. That'll show where everything came from and all that kind of stuff, the stuff that's behind it. If you can convert it with that, it is, especially to a common thing like MP4, then we can convert police department that way on most of its new L3 systems. That's not all. They've got some old systems that aren't going to work there, but we took a 45-minute video and converted it in 4 minutes. And it has the metadata with it. So that enables us to just automatically take the MP4, which is easier to move than the one with the proprietary players. So we're able to just move that over where the defense can get it, and it's easier for the defense to handle that than it is for us to be pushing proprietary players and all that kind of stuff. So you got a question, Commissioner?
I think you may have answered. I was just trying to see if we've received enough cooperative input from our tech people, from our IT people, regardless of whether it's in-house or from other entities, agencies. Are we getting enough of that language?
I want to get to that at the end if I can, but the answer is yes. So everything, I guess, and I really probably should start there. I can tell you that the Austin Texture people are ragging on both the prosecution offices and our IT department, and we're definitely ragging on them. This, what I'll call cooperative agreement, because we're part owners. We've had some things that you have to tweak, and we asked for 3 things one day. The next morning they had done it and had it on the system. As far as I know, nobody's told anybody no yet about anything. We're all working together, and it's really going very well. The data conversion from Babbage, which we were really concerned about, because there was a lot of stuff and it goes way back, and many of the fields have been used for different purposes throughout the years. There was a lot of work put into that by everybody, Jason's people, and of course Roland's the guy that knows Babbage. It went really, really well. If we had it to do over, we'd probably spend a little more time working on the video and audio stuff to that same level. We got fooled a little bit because through our old system, if law enforcement didn't use the right nomenclature of naming a file, then either the intake secretary caught it or the intake lawyer caught it and changed it. So TechShare built the conversion for the movement of that file largely based on the protocol of nomenclatures. Well, it's coming in, but nobody's seeing it now because it's coming into the system. So we're having issues with that. We expect to probably go live on the LEA portal by the end of the month, or the first part of next month, and also on the defense portal. Once that happens, it'll be, instead of us having to correct those errors, law enforcement will be having to correct those errors on the nomenclatures, which will help us right now because there's like 55 detectives from the police department sending all that stuff over for my first assistant, the intake secretary, and my office administrator to make sure we get the names right.
Just a quick question in terms of the portal. Did we ever land on whether we would be charging a fee or no fee for access into the portal? And I think I was thinking of
to the law enforcement portal or the defense portals. We discussed that.
Because it really, I mean, we're providing a platform for everyone to come in.
Right. Well, here's what winds up happening. For the law enforcement stuff, it just flat makes sense because it's saving us a lot of work. If they don't use that, they're bringing it over, we're gonna have to enter all of it. So it's actually helping us to have them do that work so we don't have to. On the defense side, if you charge, it's gonna be a circular deal back to the county. I'm gonna guess, and I don't know what the misdemeanor numbers are, but it's rare to see a retained lawyer on a felony in Potter County. So what's gonna happen is, the cost of that's just gonna be assessed on the court-appointed fee somewhere for it then to be paid back through the system. So I think it'll be a lot of accounting, and we're not gaining anything. The defense portal is actually maintained by TechShare. And the reason they want to do that is because if they do that, then every place that has TechShare, which right now we would be, I believe, third or fourth person to implement. Tarrant County is going to be going probably within the next month. They'll be going live. But I personally look at charging a fee for the defense portal. It's going to be a lot of accounting, and it's basically just passing the same buck back through. It's good. Potter County's going to wind up footing the bill anyway.
Yeah, and I think maybe I was originally thinking of the law enforcement piece so that the city could help bridge some of that cost, because it really is a benefit for all the entities, or at least that's how we envisioned it.
Well, I don't know if it's really benefiting them or not. It's really benefiting us for them to use our system. It does make it, depending on how you want to look at it, it does make it probably easier to get to us, but we're asking them to do things that typically most folks don't do, like using those certain nomenclatures and stuff like that. They could just bring a file over and hand it to us. That's what they wanted to do. So, there wasn't ever any charge discussion about doing that with law enforcement. The things are going along just fine. I think Jason echoed that as well. We've got a few issues we have to tackle, and that IT is working on to tackle, but that's pretty common. The other thing I guess I would share with you is that once we get the media stuff resolved, and it's going to get resolved for the ones that aren't the newer L3 that we can do like that. We already had in the budget to purchase a program that will do some converting. And we still have that left over, and in the process of working with David to go ahead and get that purchased. And once we get that up and going, the good news about that is it's probably at the most 15 to 20% of what our video is. The biggest portion is the newer versions of the stuff from the police department that we can convert very quickly. It looks like this other version is going to be a 1-for-1. So if the minute's 60 minutes long, it's going to take about 60 minutes to convert it. But right now, there's not anything else out there that will convert those, except for proprietary players. And you just can't get in the business of having a proprietary player for everything. We're working with TechShare, and TechShare Prosecutor is, they've already had 4 states contact them, and they've actually already gone to, I know, 2, which are more like the federal system, where there's a head group that's over the whole court, including the prosecutors, and they're very interested in the TechShare program as it is right now. So it's clear we got on the right train and the right case management system. Another little side note about the JP Court TechShare court system. It seems as of last Tuesday, the very vocal Dallas judges have changed their tunes also about the TechShare court system. It was rolled out as a minimum functionality, as was ours on the prosecutor, because we didn't have LEA or either ends. And now they've seen some of the things that they're doing in writing that program, and even I was told even the most vocal judge against it is now singing a different tune. So this cooperative working agreement, I can't tell you how much different it is, and I'll give you an example. waited till since probably February or March. We asked the sheriff's department, and I'm not knocking the sheriff's department, they have done everything they can to try to make this happen for us. With Spillman, but there's a report that gets done that updates everybody on who's in custody and who's not. And I think it comes out hourly. If that thing could be, and it's in a PDF format, if they could dump it out in an XML format, then we could grab into the slots and get data that we need. That particular report also would need to have, I think it's 2 things we're gonna need to add to it. So Christie and all of them have done the best they can on trying to make that happen, asked for it. Spillman put them off and said, hey, we're fixing to run a update and send an update out in April. So let's wait and see what happens after that, to see if that takes care of it. They did. Took them about 2 weeks to 3 weeks to make sure we got everything going right on their end. And there's a query that you apparently put in to their system, Spillman's system, that you put in requests. Well, they got to looking the other day, about a month ago now, and couldn't even find our request. And got to look, well, we'll look for it. And actually, that happened when I got Brian involved in it. Since Christie wasn't having much luck getting anything done, got the sheriff involved. And we're still waiting on an answer for that. So overnight, 4 months. And I really think it's the business end of it is what's making the biggest difference, because we are part of it. Anybody else have any other questions about that?
I just have to say that I appreciate these updates, because often we make decisions on these big ticket items and then we don't see them, and I would love if we could have some type of what I commonly call just a return on investment. Intake used to take 10 days, now it's 4, I'm just kind of making up those numbers, because I would love to be able to communicate that to our taxpayers. And I'm remembering back, Commissioner Kelly, when you and I went to observe Randall's office prior to any of this, all the directories and the clicks, and so as you're talking through that, I'm remembering, because we sat with the intake attorney and your front desk of what that looked like. So maybe once you stabilize, we can make another trip over there to see a before and after. That'd be interesting to see, but I appreciate you putting this on.
Most of the folks that have gone through it is taking everybody somewhere in the neighborhood, 30 days to 60 days to get it to where we are. Troy Pickett, who's the head person on the technical side of all of it, indicated that let's see, we've got Midland, I think here, Dallas, Midland, Tarrant, and Travis are involved in this deal. Dallas and Midland have already gone live. We've now gone live. Tarrant County's going to go live here in the next month. Travis County scheduled to go live the first part of 2016. And the others have had about a 60-day to get kind of figured out. But Troy did tell us that we're absolutely utilizing more of the program than anyone else is using. And therefore to expect growing pains than the others have had also. But he also said because we're doing that, he clearly believes we're going to experience the most benefit out of it at the end of the day. So hopefully by the 1st of January, we'll have everything up and going good. We'll have some numbers we can bring back to you on the changes. But I did think the intake secretary's comment to me a week and a half ago was pretty interesting, that she was just sitting there going, I know I've left something out that can't be seasoned.
Well, thank you for the update, Mel. When do you feel like you might come back to the court and give us a number?
Unless y'all wanted to do, for me to do it sooner, I guess I'd come in back and give you a discussion about how the LEA portal is working and the defense portal when it goes up. And then probably by the end of the year, we'll have some numbers that we can kind of talk to you about, and the difference of the graph I showed before of all the steps and how many things had to have happen versus what's taking place now. The absolute best thing of it, it's all in our system. we don't have to bounce around anymore. It's in one system. That's a big time saver.
Okay, good. So everyone's pretty happy with it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, stay where you are. Number
I'm going
16, automobile burglary and theft prevention awarded grant. To recognize the grant award and authorize the judge to sign the grant acceptance and list of agreements.
Yes, ma'am. And, I've got a copy of that, and I guess I should have got copies for everybody. It's just interlocal agreement, you know, with Potter County, in the DA's office, and there's also an interlocal agreement with with DPS, that one's with DPS. The other one is with my office, and I'm not sure we have to do that, but it's a Potter County grant, and they don't need the paperwork, and they can just tear it up, but it's in regards to, jurisdiction and basically saying that we'll prosecute cases.
So where's the 90,000 coming from?
The 90,000, that's what y'all voted to do.
What fund is it coming from? I know, I'm trying to get Randall to say it.
Do what?
Trying to see if you're awake.
That's a no-no.
I know it is.
It's a no-no, you can bring it up.
I know, I'm just giving you a hard time, because I can't. Okay. So do we have a motion on this?
Just a quick question on the grant amount. So it's $667,000.73, if I'm following that.
73.
Oh, I'm sorry,
$667,000.
And $73. Is that the amount that we were expecting with the proposal when we were vetting through the dollars? I know minus the change that we talked about.
We applied for over $1 million.
Okay.
That's what got awarded, and we had to go back and adjust the grant accordingly. And so we've been able to do that. And we'll have that all sent back to them. We're waiting on 3 law enforcement people and 1 DA to get some paperwork back to us, and we've been hounding them for 2 weeks. So we can get that back and get in a position to get that sent in.
$667,073. And the only other question I have, Randall, so the grant term is September 1, here coming up soon, through August 31st of 2016, so it's a 1-year grant cycle.
Correct.
And there's essentially kind of a new division, if you will, being created. What happens if we don't get granted another year? I mean, do we?
For another year. We have to apply yearly. When is it?
I think we started in June.
May. We will have to put numbers in and a new application in probably before May of next year.
But do we feel confident that we will continue to receive? I mean, I know it's really hit or miss with grants of when we get allocated,
Correct.
but since it is a whole new division for the automobile burglary and theft prevention, I hate to get 1 year in, new people,
Okay, here's
cars.
the funding is the $2 fee on the insurance. Is where the original funding comes from. And that's given, you phrase it, given to the general fund of the state, which was $44 million. This, I think in 13 or 14, it was $44 million. So according to the rider, the money, up to 50% of that money collected from the $2 fee on motor vehicle insurance can be dedicated to go to the Auto Burglary Theft Prevention Authority, which is a division of the Texas Department of Motor Vehicles. Right now, that should equivalent, they come out to about 22 million. Right now, the number was 14.3 is what they have. It came out as what is allocated to that authority. There were efforts made to try to increase that, but we were late in the game in finding those things out.
Okay.
And both houses had already had done their budgets, and so it was in the conference committee. Conference committee of people between the 2 counties to finalize, state to finalize what the budget was going to be, and we weren't able to get any additional funds added.
But we feel good that there's stability in these grants, that next year when we apply, we'll be a good contender to keep getting these dollar amounts. Okay.
Right, well, should be more money coming in, because there's more people, more vehicles, more insurance. But it's totally up to the legislature as to how much they're gonna fund up to that 50%. And what I was told is there are hundreds, if not thousands, of same type bills where there's riders with dedicated money that aren't being fully utilized, the whole rider's not, the amount to go to those agencies. And that's where the budget gets balanced, that's where the rainy day fund, all those sort of things. So it's hard for them to increase something on one, I think, and not increase them on the others and that sort of thing. So I don't know how successful we'll be in getting more money dedicated under the rider to this authority, but I can sure tell you, I tried this last session, and there's several of us that are gonna try again.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Thanks.
You just need a motion to authorize you. Move that we authorize Judge Standard to sign the grant acceptance notice, interlocal agreement, the automobile burglary theft prevention authority.
Motion is second, on the favor, raise your right hand. Thank you, Randall.
Thank you.
Number 18. Finally, something that doesn't involve money. Procurement award, Potter County Purchasing Department, to recognize the Potter County Purchasing Department as the recipient of the 2015 Annual Achievement of Excellence in Procurement Award. This is the 9th consecutive year you got this. Thank you so much. Very, very, very proud of you guys for what you do.
And only 47 counties. Can we get the logo to put on our website?
Well, it's already on my portion of it, but I'll
portion of it.
Yes,
We
need to put that out there, Jason.
We have the platinum out there for our transparency for the accountability office. And David, only 47 counties in the United States and Canada received this award.
Yes, and you know, it is application based, so we did apply for it. I'm not gonna say that they looked at every county in the United States, but it's based on criteria, best practices and helping move us forward and making sure we're complying with those practices that are out there. Really my staff, I mean, you know, they're the ones that feel that because it's extra work on them, but they've done a great job.
And they are here. Would you have them stand?
Yeah, absolutely. Purchasing.
Thank you, guys.
And we have a kind of gave outline of the contract. You also have a couple spreadsheets. One is the budget that we're asking that you set on the project. The other spreadsheet was actually a comparison we did between software as an on-site buying license versus leasing it or doing software as a service. And after doing that, everyone recommended that we just buy it on site, that in the long term we'll save more money that way. And you also have a copy of the final contract that we're asking you to approve today. And so if you have any questions over that portion, you can ask me or Dave, and I think the clerks kind of want to tell you their thoughts on the system and why they want to go forward.
I have one question on the contract, page 5, 11, maintenance services. So it's indicating that Tyler will waive maintenance for 14 months on the effective date, I'm assuming the contract date.
Yes.
And then client on a prorated basis through the end. What is the prorated base? What would that dollar amount be for maintenance? It's not clear to me what that will be after the 14.
It's on the second page of the contract under the fees. It's around $96,000.
But that, it won't be prorated to a certain date, that'll just be our annual date to pay those fees will become 14 months from this mutual contract.
So are you referring, David, to the Odyssey pricing model? I think it's page 4 of the actual packet where it says annual maintenance on site, which is what the proposal is, 96,000,
Yes.
and then year 1, is that 1.2 million?
Which document?
I'll just do it right here.
That was the, that's cumulative, yeah, that's a.
Okay.